Our interview with gubernatorial candidate Brian Kemp campaigning in Northeast Georgia today.
It's kind of fun. We know the area, know a lot of good people that are working hard for us.
Also tonight, Athens reacts to the synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh.
What happened yesterday will not break us.
Plus this story.
Wildlife is everywhere in a rural state like Georgia. But what do you do when that wildlife gets into your home? Stay tuned to find out.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College at the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
I'm Elliott.
And I'm Jillian Gillard. We caught up with Republican gubernatorial candidate Brian Kemp today as he campaigned in Northeast Georgia. Grady Newsource reporter Erin Valley is live at the Tate Student Center, where you can vote early beginning tomorrow.
Good job. Oh, she looks good. Thanks, Jillian. I interviewed Brian Kemp earlier today in Watkinsville at the Oconee Veterans Park, and then I followed him to Jefferson, Georgia. Now, he told me it's nice to be campaigning in the community that he calls home.
Well, certainly I know this area well. I mean, I grew up obviously in Athens, so it's definitely home for me.
Republican gubernatorial nominee and current Secretary of State Brian Kemp said it's good to be home.
It's kind of fun. We know the area, know a lot of good people that are working hard for us.
With only 1 week left until Election Day, the Athens native visited Oconee Veterans Park this morning, garnering support not only for himself, but for local Republican candidates as well.
Figure out how many votes Donald Trump got in Oconee County in 2016. Make it your mission for Brian Kemp and this whole Republican ticket to get more votes than the last presidential election.
Now, Brian Kemp's Road to Victory bus tour also brought him right here to Jefferson, Georgia, and he brought along Governor Nathan Deal, who had a special announcement to share. After endorsing Kemp, current Governor Nathan Deal said he and the GOP candidate would be back in Jackson County soon with what he called a special economic development announcement. Kemp says keeping the economy strong is one of his top priorities, along with cutting government spending and putting Georgians before illegal immigrants. I asked Kemp about former President Jimmy Carter's letter asking him to resign as Secretary of State in light of accusations he has worked to suppress the minority vote.
I think that's just another political stunt by the Democrats to really have the extreme agenda that I talked about this morning.
Tonight, and whether you're voting for him or Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams. Now, Brian Kemp will be in Monroe, Georgia until 8 o'clock tonight. Now, whether you're voting for him or Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams, you can cast your ballot here at the Tate Student Center if you're registered to vote in Athens tomorrow and Wednesday. Erin Valley, Grady Newsource.
We also talked with Stacey Abrams. She visited Athens a few weeks ago. I talked with her on campus as she campaigned for votes.
53,000, but the reality is we've got a secret weapon. You see, I've met the Secretary of State. I've fought him and I know what his tricks are. And he's a one-trick pony when it comes to voter suppression.
Abrams hopes to become the nation's first female African-American governor.
One of the more controversial amendments on this year's ballot is Amendment 4. Grady Newsource reporter Maddie Ray breaks down the Crime Victims' Rights Amendment, or Marcy's Law.
When you vote, you'll eventually find your way to the bottom of the ballot where you'll see this question. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so as to provide certain rights to victims against whom a crime has allegedly been perpetrated and allow victims to assert such rights? But what are these rights? For instance, crime victims would have the right to know about any proceedings involving the alleged criminal. They would have the right to know of any arrest, release, or escape of the accused. If they wanted to, victims would have the right to speak at any court proceedings about the release, plea, or even sentencing of a defendant. The amendment is named Marcy's Law after Marcy Nicholas. The California student seen here with her brother was murdered in 1983. A week later, her mother ran into the accused killer at a grocery store, unaware he had posted bail. Critics of this amendment feel that allowing victims to speak at early proceedings could infringe on the accused's right of innocence until proven guilty. Victims' rights groups feel that passing this amendment will give victims a voice and the right to be heard. For Grady Newsource, I'm Maddie Ray.
Georgia is one of the 6 states where voters will be deciding on Marsy's Law during this upcoming election.
Grady Newsource will be covering the election all night November 6th to give you results for Northeast Georgia and throughout the state.
Reporter Ben Epstein is live in the studio to preview our upcoming political coverage.
You guys, we are only 8 days away from the 2018 midterms, but before you freak out, let's catch you up on all the basics that you need to know. To begin, it's important to recall exactly what's up for election. These things will be statewide elections such as governor, which will be Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and secretary of state, and more. These terms will last for 4 years. Also, there will be state senate and house representatives, and these are 2-year terms. And then also there will be local jurisdictions such as county commissioners, board of education, and district supervisors. To remember, going into the polls, the next governor elected will be a part of drawing new election district lines, and that will be after the 2020 census. And this will help determine the balance between Republicans and Democrats in Georgia for the future. Also, you should know that your polling place may have changed, or the number of polls in your county may have been reduced. And then also lastly, on Tuesday, you'll need to cast your vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or by Friday if you're doing early voting. But all is not needed to be worried about, because on Tuesday we'll have you covered with our News Source election show, and this will be all political coverage, expert panels, live coverage, and digital content, and it'll be covering your local and state elections. It'll be starting at 5 to 5:30, and then also reoccurring at 8 to 11 p.m. Back to you guys.
The murder spree inside a Pittsburgh synagogue is reverberating in Athens. A man opened fire inside the temple, killing 11 people. I spoke with a staff member at UGA's Hillel, which promotes Jewish life on college campuses.
Something like that happens to the Jewish community, it happens to all of us. I'm a part of that community, so it really hit home, and it's hit home to a lot of students here at UGA.
Mara Price is a staffer at the University of Georgia Hillel. She says what happened hundreds of miles away hit her as she walked to work this morning.
Just thinking, I work for a Jewish organization, and I don't want any of the students I work with to feel unsafe. It could have been any organization in any city.
People around the world are honoring the 11 victims killed inside the Tree of Life synagogue. Victims like 97-year-old Rose Mallinger.
What happened yesterday will not break us. It will not ruin us.
The alleged shooter, Robert Bowers, faces 29 federal charges, and the U.S. Attorney in Pittsburgh says he is seeking the death penalty.
The fact that this attack took place during a worship service makes it even more heinous.
Meanwhile, the local Athens Jewish community is planning a vigil in honor of the victims tomorrow evening.
So we're currently in the works of planning a vigil for Jewish students, for all students at UGA to come and take part of as a memorial to these people.
And we got word late this afternoon that the vigil for the Tree of Life victims will be at the Tate Student Center tomorrow from 4:30 until 5:15 p.m.
Another suspicious package bound for CNN was intercepted by postal authorities in Atlanta this morning. Imminent danger to CNN Center since the package was discovered at the post office. Caesar Sayok, the man suspected of the sending at least 14 pipe bombs across the country, was arrested last week.
Parents, this Halloween pay special attention to your kids' candy. A Georgia town just south of Athens is finding some treats are not what they seem. The Dublin Police Department posted on Facebook warning people that they are discovering methamphetamine pills in their community. These pills are being disguised to look like typical sugar candies. If you find anything that seems suspicious this holiday season, you're encouraged to call 911.
Facebook post claimed in Madison County that a bobcat was found in someone's home. Yes, a bobcat. Find out how they would deal with that situation in Athens-Clarke County at the Athens-Clarke County Animal Control.
Want to figure out how you can be a representative for a local foster child? Stay tuned to find out.